Good evening, everybody. I so wish that I could be at the meeting with you in person, but as you all very well know, we have our acrobats from Circular Symphony in town to rehearse with the San Bernardino Symphony tonight for Friday and Saturday's concerts. So I will be at the California Theater dealing with all of those details. What I do want to do is I want to go ahead and quickly jump into the details for the 2021 season and briefly discuss my vision for some of the concerts that I have in mind for next season. The opening concert, which would fall in August, is entitled Made in America, and this concert revolves around two important works. One is one that we all know very well. It's the Lincoln Portrait by Aaron Copland, which calls for narrator. And I think that it's an important piece for us to start the season off with. It's one of the most powerful and recognizable pieces in the classical idiom. The other work is by an American composer, a Los Angeles-based American composer by the name of Maria Newman. And she has written a score called Our Rights and Nothing Less. The reason for her writing this is that she was commissioned to write it in commemoration of a couple of things. This year, 2020, marks the 200th anniversary of the birth of Susan B. Anthony. And also on August the 18th of 2020, that marks the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which of course, as we all know, gave women the right to vote. This is an important issue for us to discuss as a community, and we have the opportunity to premiere this incredible work, or give the West Coast premiere of this wonderful new work by Maria Newman. Maria Newman, of course, is a member of the Newman dynasty of composers and musicians. Her father is the 9-time Academy Award-winning composer, Alfred Newman, who, amongst many famous movie scores, wrote the famous fanfare for 20th Century Fox that you hear at the beginning of every movie that's produced by that company. And she is the sister of 2 Academy Award-nominated composers, David and Thomas Newman. And her cousin is the very famous songwriter and composer, Randy Newman. And her other cousin is the other longtime department chair of music at Fox, Lionel Newman. So we have a unique opportunity to premiere this wonderful new work by Maria Newman. The beginning of the concert pays tribute to a number of composers who I think are important in their own right to American music. The first being John Williams. We would start off with the John Williams rendition of the national anthem, which I think is the most vivid, moving, and in a lot of ways bombastic version of the national anthem. And then we go on to 2 other works of his. The first being his incredible score, which is not often played, but it's an incredible score to a movie called Born on the 4th of July. After that, we would move into a solo for saxophone and orchestra called Escapades. It's a 3-movement work that lasts around 16 minutes that jumps from various themes from John Williams' most well-known scores, including Catch Me If You Can, Schindler's List, and others. It's a deeply interesting work that calls for solo saxophone, vibraphone, and bass in the jazz idiom. Then we would pay highlight and tribute to George Walker, who is the first Black composer to ever capture the Pulitzer Prize in music. He is a composer that I knew personally from the time that I was a graduate student at Yale University. I had the opportunity to work with George Walker on a number of his works. I premiered 2 works of his, and I was in the process of commissioning a work for the Southeast Symphony when he passed away suddenly just a few months ago. We would do his Lyric for Strings, which is probably his best known work, and it's a deeply captivating and colorful work for string orchestra. After that, we would end the first half with a tribute to cartoon music, which many of us grew up with, and in particular the music from Tom and Jerry, written by Scott Bradley. In a similar fashion to the Martin Luther King concert that I produced, I would find a unifying narrative to tie all of these singular and unique pieces together in one unifying sort of element. And a couple of other things that I think that would elevate this concert would be for Judith Valles, if you would be so willing and so moved. I think it would be a great honor if you would narrate Maria Newman's new work, Our Rights and Nothing Less. If you would narrate using the words of Susan B. Anthony on this concert. And I hope that you would consider this and perform with our orchestra. I think that would be really special. Also, I understand that our president, Dean McVeigh, has direct connection to the great and legendary screen and Broadway actress Carol Cook. And to have her come into the California Theater and perform some of the works of Jerry Herman would be another element that I think would elevate this American concert in a very special way for our orchestra. The second concert of the season falls on October the 24th, and this would be a first outing for the San Bernardino Symphony, as it would be the first time that our orchestra has performed an entire film live with the orchestral score. And this is a phenomenon that has been paying great dividends for orchestras around the world over the last 7 or 8 years. Orchestras are witnessing massive crowds and packed halls as they perform the scores to such classics as Jurassic Park or Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jaws, E.T., and many other scores. I think a great first outing for us would be the movie Coco, which is a Pixar production that I think grossed well over $1 billion at the box office. And I think for the Inland Empire would be a very appropriate and popular choice. The score was penned by two composers that I've worked with extensively over the last 10 years, Michael Giacchino and Jermaine Franco, and I would certainly do my best to get either one or both of these composers to the California Theater to be a part of this concert in some way, shape, or form. So I hope that we will all consider taking this step out of the box and pursuing our very first picture live with score. Our next concert is December the 12th, and I have entitled this concert Strauss, Ravel, and Archuleta. And the first half of this concert focuses on Richard Strauss, his very famous tone poem, Don Juan. And the next work is a piece by Maurice Ravel called The Piano Concerto for the Left Hand. It was actually commissioned by a pianist who had fought in the First World War and lost one of his arms in combat. So this is actually a concerto that is written for the left hand only. It would be performed by a great pianist by the name of Ryan McCullough, who I have concertized with extensively over the last 10 or so years. And he would love to come and make music with us at the California Theater and do this incredible piece. I understand before I became music director that David Archuleta was a hit with the Inland Empire community, as Dean and some others have explained to me, and I certainly would love to produce a second half of a concert that is holiday, specifically Christmas-oriented, to round out this really exciting program. On February the 13th, which is the day before Valentine's Day, we would do a concert entitled Romeo and Juliet versus West Side Story. And basically this concert is the telling of Romeo and Juliet through multiple lenses, specifically the lenses of Sergei Prokofiev, his ballet music to Romeo and Juliet, Tchaikovsky's overture to Romeo and Juliet, which has one of the most famous love themes in all of orchestral literature, and a second half that's dedicated to the music of American composer Leonard Bernstein and his incredible score to West Side Story. And we would perform this along with some talented singers and dancers, and I think it's just it's an incredible evening of music, and I love that this has a through storyline that unifies both halves of the concert. The season concludes on May the 1st with the music of two of my heroes, Beethoven and Mozart. How much better than that does it get? And in particular, we will highlight my favorite Beethoven symphony, the Fourth. Yes, of all the Beethoven symphonies, the Fourth is my favorite, even though it's wedged in between the incredible Eroica and, you know, the Fifth Symphony, which every single person on the planet knows. The Fourth Symphony, I think, is a particularly special work, and we can talk about all the nuanced reasons why later. But also, we would finish our entire season with the Mozart Requiem, which is a piece that is near and dear to my heart. I have performed this in almost every possible angle. I have been in the choir. I have played first bassoon on it. I have played second bassoon on it. I have played both of the bass and horn parts. But I have never conducted this work, so I would finally have the opportunity to complete my own musical journey with this work. And of course, we will perform it with our friends from the Los Robles Master Chorale. In addition to the 5 concerts we've discussed, I also want to start a chamber series that is centered around jazz. And basically, I want to set up a new concert series over at the Sturgis Center that's based around jazz combo plus singers and soloists. So this is something that would use 10 or less musicians. I would curate this, and I think we could grow this into its own series, and it would have very, low overhead, considering that we'd be using 10 or less players. And I think it's just something that our community needs. I've talked about it with quite a few of our patrons, and they have all responded with a great deal of excitement. And I would like to collaborate with a dear friend of mine and a very well-respected jazz musician by the name of Josh Nelson, who he and I would co-curate this series and bring in some amazing soloists and curate an evening that is meaningful to our region and deeply insightful and entertaining. And that basically rounds out this incredible first season. In conclusion, that pretty much sums up my vision for next season. I am really excited to execute these concerts, and I hope you're as excited about these concepts as I am. And I look forward to working together to accomplish this, to continue to grow our orchestra, to continue to reach as many people and as many communities within the Inland Empire as we possibly can, and to make our orchestra the best regional orchestra in California. I know that we're already inching closer towards that goal every single concert that we put on. I thank you for everything that you do, and I look forward to seeing all of you, your family, your friends, your neighbors, your enemies if necessary, at this concert on Saturday, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. The orchestra's been working very hard, and I am really excited to see this whole thing come together. Take care. Thank you.